We have an unspeakable tragedy. We know that this vessel struck the bridge and the bridge collapsed.
When a massive cargo ship struck the Francis Scott Key Bridge in late March 2024, it blocked one of the country's critical shipping lanes responsible for the transport of goods like sugar and cars. The collapse is causing a months-long slowdown in coal exports, leaving the industry scrambling to figure out how to move the fossil fuel as stockpiles grow. But in the small industrial town of Curtis Bay, it exasperates an environmental issue: inhaling coal dust.
I try to take a deep breath. I don't get fresh air. I get nothing but coal dust and all the other particulate matters from the industries, and I start choking and coughing. Throat's starting to hurt more. I'm starting to feel like I want to cough more. Like, it's disgusting.
David Jones is one of many residents in Baltimore's Curtis Bay who for decades have said the open-air coal pile at a facility operated by CSX has polluted the air and made it hard to breathe.
This is the particulate matter that causes cancer, that causes respiratory issues. Doesn't look like anything's on the sign whatsoever. But as soon as I run my finger across it, it's full of coal.
A fifth of all U.S. coal exports leave through Baltimore, and CSX is the nation's second largest coal export terminal.
Ever since the bridge collapse, CSX says that the coal piles have been slowly getting lower, but they're not.
According to the EPA, Curtis Bay is in Maryland's 94th percentile for toxic air releases. The National Cancer Institute has linked air pollution with lung and skin cancer, amongst others.
Now we'll wipe it. As you see, that's the dust. And we're breathing all this stuff in, and it's like, I know a lot of people that they're all dying from cancer. They've all been born and raised right here in Brooklyn and Curtis Bay.
If you look at any type of industry in this whole entire country, I don't care where it is, most industry is put in areas that are disadvantaged.
Federal officials want the Port of Baltimore back to business as usual.
And by the end of May, we'll open the full channel.
The rebuild of the bridge could take up to 4 years and cost up to $1.9 billion, all of which President Joe Biden promised the federal government would pay for. As they marshal enormous resources to Maryland, Chloe Amon, a former resident turned anthropologist, is frustrated that the community concerns are going unanswered.
In Curtis Bay, business as usual produced one of the most polluted landscapes in the country. Right now, the Maryland Department of Environment is reviewing the operating permit for CSX and really has a unique opportunity to increase regulation.
CSX has drawn ire from the local community for years. When their Baltimore facility caused an explosion that blasted coal dust across Curtis Bay in 2021, residents launched a class action lawsuit seeking $5 million, claiming exposure to toxic substances. CSX did not respond to our recent request for comment after the bridge collapse. However, their previous release statements say they are committed to coal dust control, but deny any responsibility for air pollution.
Since December 2021, residents have been fighting to end the storage and transport of coal in their community, or at the very least to cover up these coal piles in silos.
The residents have not succeeded, potentially in part because CSX is one of the East Coast's largest freight rails, operating in Curtis Bay for 140 years, and it is supported by local officials.
The power of today is an acknowledgement and a celebration that the road to prosperity can be taken by rail.
We've asked 7 times within the past few years for the governor to declare a state of emergency. I understand the bridge happening, that can be declared as a state of emergency. But when you're talking about people's actually public health and safety, that's a state of emergency.
The community was having enough issues, as has been documented before, just from dust. I'm going to be talking with the mayor's office and talking with officials, particularly at the port, to try to do that, because if it's covered, then it's not being spread.
All we're asking for is the same things that people have in their communities, which is clean air, safety, health, and that's not a big ask.
Even as it is vital for Maryland to get that port working again, it seems like the prime time to question when business as usual is and is not commensurate with environmental justice.